Hello, everyone. We are back after a little break with Special Spirits series. My special guest today is Connie Morris, joining us from somewhere in the US. I will let Connie give that important detail away. We will be I'm super excited because, as you know, I'm a mom of a child on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum. And Connie is going to share quite a few tips about improving lives of families with kids or even grown-ups with special needs. So I can't wait to hear them. And Connie, please let me remind me where you are joining us from. And I know you've got quite a few specialists. You specialize in teaching as well as mindfulness. So I would love you to tell us where you are with your journey, because it's been of what I remembered chatting to you before. It's been quite an interesting one too. So welcome, thank you for joining, and please tell us about yourself a little.
Thank you for having me, Monica. I am very excited to be here. I am in the States and I'm in Ohio, which is they call it the Midwest, but we're a little bit more east and north. So great location with the lakes on these hot days in summer. So it's nice to be where I am. And I have a diverse background. I started in Gen Ed, so an elementary school teacher in the States. And at the time I was out in Colorado when I first started. So it was a great experience working with little ones and understanding that those first years are so formative and important. And as I continued through my career, I was asked to move to a high school level. And when I asked why me, that's not my area of specialty. It was for a special needs, and they felt that my skills would be well suited there. So I did go back to school. It was a great experience after spending so much time in the elementary up to middle school years. And in the States, that's about 13 years old. So I went to the next stage in high school and went back to school and got my intervention license so I could work with my students in the classroom and try to get them into an inclusion setting, which was all amazing. The more I worked with students, the more I realized that in learning about intervention, autism, and mindfulness continued to be linked in my college studies. So I did more research on it. My daughter, who is also an intervention specialist, and I went to a children's teacher training for yoga, which was so much fun, and I started using it in the classrooms. Working with high schoolers, I decided to add the adult certification just because they were adult size, and I wanted to make sure physically we were doing the right kind of poses for them. So all of that together brought me to where I am today. I started when I began working with my students, the parents were asking me, other teachers were asking me more about the yoga, more about the breath, more about the mindfulness, and seeing that there was some positive discipline practices going into the curriculum we were doing, as well as evidence-based practices. So a lot of science behind it, which I think makes a huge difference. I'll talk a lot about buy-in today. But so when I started working with teachers, I realized it was great working with the kids, but when you're working with teachers, you're working with so many more kids just because of that knowledge being shared. So I began trainings for teachers, and I've been to England. I had the pleasure of coming and visiting and seeing and meeting with some like-minded people. And there are some great things being done. And then, of course, COVID hit, which I think makes this even more important now because of our seclusion and our trauma and the teachers' well-being. So it's just a great time to begin talking about it again, begin working with people in person again. We've done a few trainings here, and it's just been, I think the teachers benefit so much from it as well, which we know all of that is contagious. So that is the journey and where I am. So it's amazing. My personal journey during that whole, and I know you and I had talked, my personal journey when I had started at the school I'm at now, and I was asked just to teach mindfulness in the school, which was amazing. And I've been doing that for 4 years. The first year I started, actually the first week, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I had this ability to share my passion and actually have that buy-in because people could see that it was genuine. So I think that's a big factor. If it helps your well-being, people can see that, and then they want to know why and how. So yeah.
That's so beautiful because you've helped yourself, and now using the similar techniques, modalities to help others. Was that the beginning, the reason why you started budding yoga? Your personal
just work it to begin with. We began working just with students and using the breath and the mindfulness and the self-awareness and the management to be able to have that whole, it just, as a classroom teacher,
Connie, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I can't hear you.
Are we back?
We are back. Yes, we are back. That was a little break. We didn't have a commercial played, but we could have had. Happened. Let's not worry about it. It's life.
Yes. I think it's the overabundance of air conditioners being used right now or something where we are. We keep having these power outages. But, so yeah, I think just beginning to see, work with the children and be able to make that environment different. And if kids are not learning ready, if they're not ready to enter your classroom, it doesn't matter how much we teach them, they will not be able to learn it without being ready. And I think this is just, it's one of the best things we can do to start our day and to keep it being used all day long in the classroom and at home.
So in a way, that's you kind of answered my question about the biggest advantages of using the methods, working obviously with parents and children.
Yes.
So there is a connection between home and school.
Yes.
And that's where I see it working the best. And you are just mentioned you are training teachers as well. So there is a common platform for everyone to use the same modality and benefit, which is amazing. And what do you think? I mean, I know from my background here in the UK, and I have my son's school is fantastic. I need to say it on air. It's Riversdale School where he goes has been amazing. But I know that school is quite exceptional in terms of support they provide for special needs children and parents. So from your experience in the US, how open were the schools to embrace you and ask for your support?
That's a great question. I think, and when I do my trainings, I work with my teachers to have that buy-in themselves, but also to share it with administrators and parents. So I think the best thing we can do is to make sure that evidence-based studies, the science behind it, the studies have said this has worked. So that helps. It's wonderful right now, I think, across the world, that we're so ready to rethink education, just because we've had to, and we've learned a lot. And when we are able to have that growth mindset, and resilience, which we had to do this year, we become much more open to things that work. So I think this is a really good time. I think that you're 100% right. There are people that are maybe skeptical. Keeping it secular, it's mindfulness. It is a positive behavior approach in schools, and that helps. Understanding the science behind it helps. And I think there's a big push, at least in the States, to have that growth mindset, to be open to possibilities. And especially with our students, all students, to have this fixed mindset to think this is the way we should do it. This has worked. And these are capabilities. We can't be there anymore. We need to look at that growth mindset and think the possibilities are endless. There's so many different ways to do this, but science has said that if we are calm and using the right part of our brain, we're going to be able to control our behavior and learn acceptance and flexibility with other people. So those are all just great social skills. So yes, I think the time is right, that there are definitely bringing it into school needs to be that science-based. So it doesn't look like, oh, we're just going to try this, maybe this will work.
Yeah, and it's interesting you're using science and research to support modalities, which I would call very much in place in spiritual sort of development. So the breath work, the mindfulness, the meditation, elements of yoga. So it's a great way of opening up the doors which were previously closed, and probably they would still be shut for you if you didn't use that the language which they can respect in a way.
Yes. Yeah? And I think if you let parents know what you're doing and use that, there are studies that support adding mindfulness to an individual on the spectrum. They improve children improve their executive functioning, controlling emotions, maintaining self-control, focusing attention, being flexible, and it decreases the self-harm behaviors or other less desirable behaviors. So when you say that, I think people are like, all right, let's go.
Absolutely, you've convinced me. Yeah. Who would know? Absolutely, that, and it's all true. It's not just saying it. We know there are great advantages. Maybe just sometimes we can't sort of put it so eloquently as you have, backing it up with research. So I'm really impressed with the way you approached the way to introduce alternative therapies. And when you mentioned the growth mind, I know how difficult it is from personal experience with my son. That fixed mind is such a characteristic in case of my son, as actually I see that being a major challenge. So all those techniques which I'm trying at home are not necessarily easily accepted by him, because that fixed brain is fighting very hard to stay fixed. That I think, again, when you have a group of kids, when you have that sort of social environment, it might help.
The peer interaction in mindfulness is so amazing. And I think just because stress is contagious. So as teachers, if the classroom has the stressful overtone and then we get stressed and then it feeds itself. And it's the same thing at home. Being a parent, I know that if I'm stressed, that can go through the house very quickly. So I think being able to as teachers and as parents, use these techniques, model these techniques, because we know, again, modeling is a huge science-based way to work with all children, and to make sure that we say, I'm going to step back, I'm going to take a few breaths, and I'm going to then we'll figure this out, or whatever. Just being able to model those things at home. And so much of what you said about the maybe some of the underlying characteristics, we all have difficulty transitioning to something we don't like. And if we take a minute to look at the positives, just take a second to look at the positives of what could happen, and like I said, when you can live this, it definitely convinces people that this will work. So
yes, amazing.
yes.
Talking of convincing people, we did promise our viewers to benefit from some tips from you about how to improve the environment for families with special needs. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind to share some, not all, obviously, but at least some of them, so our viewers can practice at home, so to speak. Connie, I cannot hear you.
I have had no trouble all day. I'm having to take a few deep breaths right now.
It's that cross-Atlantic connection. Obviously, today it's a challenge. So never mind. I'm not sure if you could hear my question before we got disconnected.
Would you mind repeating it? I heard a little bit of it.
No,
And I don't
not
want
at all. Not at all. I was sort of continuing thinking, I'm not sure if that face is still now. I was asking you to share some tips, if you don't mind, so people, our viewers, can practice maybe a little. Obviously, not all tips, but some of them, so the viewers can see if they can implement it at home. That would be fantastic.
So what I teach in the classroom and at home is to set up an area, a visual area to go to. Many of us, as adults, will just use our room, I know, again, as a parent, if I went in my room, it meant I needed a minute. So where can a child go to show us that they need a minute? So the hope is that they become, through these techniques, a little bit more self-aware to know when to take a break. So the visual area is wonderful, and have them decorated. I know there's people have used those play tents, somewhere they can go into, maybe just a corner with some reminders on the wall. So, and I have a bunch of things ready. As far as self-awareness, so it's very difficult for, again, any child to say, this is how I'm feeling, or this is why I'm angry. I like a one-word approach. We play a one-word game constantly where we say, how are we feeling? Just one word. And of course you can use pictures or whatever, but just being able to focus on one word is sometimes big enough. It's a big enough job itself. So I have some little emoji balls. We have... and they're good too, because they're what you said, having something in the corner that is tactile and something that they can manipulate is very helpful. So these emotion balls are great. I have little pegs that I've colored emotion faces on. You can have, I have a worksheet. This is how I feel with the thermometer. So maybe they draw their emotion and their face, again, teaching them to be a little bit more self-aware of their facial expressions, perhaps their temperature. Zones of regulation is a wonderful resource. I actually got so many free printables for parents and teachers. This is from the Times Educational Supplement, so TES. And it was free, just download, and you can laminate this and just have, there's a little thing that they can move and just show you how they're feeling. All of these things can be in their corner so that they can better just share whatever works for them. So a card maybe about emotions. And then in their corner when they're upset, what works to calm them down. So maybe some lotion that they can rub their hands, or that you can rub their neck. So again, depending on the student or the child and the touch, you could just be teaching them to do it themselves. I have the bottom of a t-shirt that is nothing more than a circle that they can climb into and wrap themselves up in, just to calm themselves, make it a tight wrap around them. And then things that they can actually do to take their mind off that anger, to take their mind somewhere else and begin some breathing. So the singing bowl is one of my favorite, where the open hand, they just concentrate on going around and around until the bowl sings. I've had great success with that. Kids love doing that themselves. Very easy pinwheel. Show me how angry you are. This can be in their toolbox, so they can go into the corner. And when they're really angry, they're taking these big breaths and they're showing you, but what they're actually doing is then releasing those chemicals in their brain to change and calm themselves, change those chemicals, change those emotions and calm themselves. So things that they can actually focus on breath without somebody just saying, just breathe.
Yeah, I know what the challenge it is when I try to say to my son, just breathe. It's just got the opposite effect. So
yeah, right. So if they have these things in their corner, we have breath cards. I'm moving it the wrong way, but a green dot on where you start, and the arrows to tell you where to move your finger and just do the breath. So this, of course, is the figure 8 breath. The square breath is very popular, where you're just drawing and finding your breath. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. You're doing it together. You can, maybe even if they let you, you can have your fingers touch, so there's a focus on that touch and that breath, calming them down. Then make it fun. Do some games. So straws and feathers, or cotton balls, ping pong balls, and just moving that, breathing in and breathing out, and moving that item back and forth. You take your mind off what's made you upset, and you're just focusing on that breath. And it doesn't even have to be that obvious that this breath is changing how you're feeling. You're just playing games. Just, move the pinwheel, show me how angry you are, and then their thoughts go somewhere else. So the peace corner, lastly, some movement cards, any kind of yoga cards. Mountain pose, I think, is one of the best poses, just because it just calms you, and you can do mountain motion, where you tell them to be in mountain pose, and then you say motion, and they can move, show you how angry they are, and then mountain, and they have to go back to mountain. And that's self-regulation, again, is pulling themselves back into control. And the positive reinforcement of saying, this is so great that you're doing this. Another thing that works really well are stuffies. So the reach up pose, you can make into there's so many yoga poses in animals. So you can do giraffe pose, where you reach up like a giraffe and try to eat from the branches, and then, forward fold and turn into an elephant and make your hands go down to the ground. So playing with the stuffies, and this works. I think all ages love this when we do Shavasana, or resting pose, just laying somewhere comfortable, having a pillow or a blanket in that peace corner, just putting your head back, putting a stuffy on your chest, and telling a student or your child to raise the animal up and lower the breath. You're rocking that animal, you're making that animal peaceful, and that becomes their focus. And in doing so, they've brought their body back into control. So honestly, just having so many things that work for them. Not all of this is going to work, but finding out what does work, and then creating that peace corner. And for teachers and parents, I would say the same thing. Have some things in there that you can model. I know so many people love just a hand massage, and how helpful that can be to calm themselves, and how wonderful that a child sees us maybe being upset about something and just calming ourselves with a technique that works for us. So peace corners for the family. Nice, comfortable seating, kind of a retreat area. whatever works. So
That's a beautiful idea. I really think you in the whole simplicity, you discovered the genius of it. It's inclusive, and I know that often kids, when they are in that sort of angry, low, unbalanced stage, they really can't articulate. They can't talk about emotions. So distraction is such an important part, that you are not only distracting, you are actually distracting with the techniques to do the breath work and some yoga postures even. So that's amazing. It's I can
it's
see a
hard.
method there.
It's hard for adults to,
Mhm.
I think, put. That's why I like the one word. We play this in every classroom. I work with my teachers. We do one word, and the last in person, it was so wonderful to be back with teachers. The last in person event we did last week, I asked them to share 3 words about how they were feeling, and it was heartbreaking, really, because if if teachers are coming out of this year feeling the way they're feeling, imagine how our students are feeling and our parents are feeling. So we have a lot of work to do over the summer. And I
Yes.
think these techniques can be shared. I think the communication, again, another evidence-based practice, having the family and the school using the same techniques, having the same things that work. Uh, and and this year has been really helpful for that, those connections with family and school. It had to happen. So again, focusing on the good, trying to see, we made some great gains this year, rethinking education, and hopefully we can keep moving forward and understand that it's going to take some time with the trauma and all of that.
Yes. Yes, but your methods are about bonding and bringing the community back, so pulling it together again. So that's wonderful. Um, I love all the tips, all the ideas. Really, really appreciate you. I've got a feeling that you are not hearing me again, Connie. I think you'll be coming back to us soon. So let's give Connie a minute. At least there is a beautiful smile there from Connie. Let's give it a minute. Well, if Connie for some reason can't come back to us, I will make sure we've got contact details in the comments section, contact details for Connie. So our viewers and viewers watching us on a replay can connect with Connie. Here we go. Now you are coming from the other camera, but I'm not sure if I'm not sure if you can hear me again. That's one of those days. Hey, you are back. I hope. If not, I will close the session with, as I was promising, with contact details for Connie in the comments section. I think we've had amazing advice and wonderful share from Connie. I truly connect with her. As you know, for personal reasons, I'm a mom of an autistic child, but also Connie is a really, really lovely person to chat and to stay in contact with. Are you back with us?
Yay!
You are.
I am so sorry.
Please do not. I was saying that we will leave your contact details in the comments. I wasn't sure if you were coming back or not.
Yes.
But it's lovely that you have managed. So we can wrap up with you. And if you would like to add any sort of final comments or any further advices, I'm inviting you to it.
Wonderful. I would. I keep telling the adults, it's so amazing everything that people went through this year and how everyone stepped up. But it is very, very important that we prioritize our own self-care. And this goes for parents and teachers and the students. Prioritizing, again, having the opportunity to teach this, prioritizing what is first in your life, making sure that you set boundaries and say to some people, I'm sorry, right now, that's not a good choice for me, and feeling comfortable with that. And this is not a luxury, and it's not even saying, well, I feel like that's selfish or me first. It isn't me first, it's me too, and it's you too, because we can't serve if we have no energy left. So I think taking that time to find moments of gratitude, mindfulness, either by yourself or a family event or a school event, so that each day it's little steps, just morning, noon, and night. Just take some time, a few minutes in the morning, a few minutes at lunch, and a few minutes in the evening, so that those become a new rewire for your brain, a new habit, and you can build from there. I don't think anybody has to become marathon runners if they don't like runners, but just being able to say, I'm going to take a walk. And you know what? The kids are going to come with me, because otherwise I'm not going to take a walk. And we'll look for colors along the way, make it a rainbow walk or whatever, a scavenger hunt. Just having time in nature, having time to take care of yourself, and having time for that gratitude is so important for all of us right now.
Yes.
So.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm massively into gratitude. It's saved my life, so to speak, the practice of gratitude. And it was for me, it was a way of starting to live in here and now, because my mind has always been racing into the future. And unfortunately has been also remembering the past too much. As we know, it's not good. We are either victims or controllers in those modes, and living in present moment is such a powerful way of living. So thank you so much for emphasizing that as well. That's another technique and a great tool.
You are doing great work, and parents and, again, teachers, just being able to step up and help. It's just, these are hurdles, and we should all be very grateful that I think the kids have shown so much resilience and so much strength through this.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very impressed with most of the people, I have to say, because it's been challenging. Let me just say hi to 2 of our viewers who have been watching, who have been with us, but unfortunately I can't see the name. StreamYard requires a registration, so I can only see Facebook user here from the studio. But thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much to everyone who will watch this on a replay, who is watching it on a replay. This video will stay in the group on a page, so I'm sure it will provide those really useful advices to those who need them, because I truly believe if you need it, you find it. So thank you so much, Connie. I really, really enjoyed chatting to you, and I love what you do. As promised, I'll put the contact details in the comment section. So
wonderful.
people can connect with you.
Yes, thank you. Thank
for
you for having me. You do good work.
Pleasure, absolutely. So I hope to chat to you again soon.
Thank you.
For now, bye, and all the best. And I really hope you will get to touch so many more lives and keep changing, improving families' lives. That's super, super important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.